welcome back to Rhythm Railroad. I'm doing a general update video because I haven't done one in a long time, and I just wanted to catch everybody up with what's been going on here. It's not going to be a very in-depth video. I just want to kind of like give an overview, and I haven't really done one like this before anyway, so I figured I would do that. I'm going to start by just showing you the floor. And the reason I'm showing you the floor is because I could actually see floor. With all the work that I've been doing, it's been really hard to keep things off the floor. So today, I went crazy and packed everything up neatly. I got some of these storage bins, I labeled things, I vacuumed, so everything's nice and clean for the most part. I still have to get some plaster and stuff off the floor. But generally speaking, I'm very happy with the fact that I can walk and not trip over some drill or something as I go. Anyways, if you haven't seen my layout in the past, in other videos, it's basically a two-level layout, as you can see here. And it's in a, I think it's about 11 by 18 or something like that room. But it's got some awkward in and outs because of the Cape style roofing. So it was a little bit of a challenge, but I'm happy with what I've been able to do. So I'll walk you around. I'll start from here, which is kind of like my main hub. I have JMRI working with block detection. That's what you're seeing here. This is my lower level, this is my upper level. The red indicates where the train is, and the white indicates the open spots. And more about that in other videos. But it's nice to be able to see everything right there. I sit right there on the stool, and I'm able to control everything from here because I can see basically the entire layout, both top and bottom, with a few exceptions. There's some blind corners over there, and obviously when it's going through the wall, I can't see that. Anyway, it doesn't matter where I sit. But I can see most of the layout, and if I just turn around, I have this industrial area. So speaking of the industrial area, that was one of my last projects. I made a bunch of videos on this, so check them out. But basically I wanted to create a switching puzzle within my layout. So these are my mains going through, which I added ballast. I don't think I had that in the last video. And then I added some scenery, some ground covering. I still have to do some touch-up work like there and so on. But all of this is hooked up, it all works. I have a few industries, but the biggest industry is basically the paper company. And I have some pretty cool buildings and a bunch of lights on the buildings as well, which maybe I'll show you at the end. But generally speaking, just a few industries here and there for the switching puzzle. So that's the first section. On this corner here, this is the only spot that I haven't been able to work on yet, but it's the last spot. I'm so glad that I'm able to say that, because every other spot is basically done with a minimal amount of track work or fully scenic at this point. But this is just bare bones. But it's going to be the coal facility. There's a building there next to my beer. And it's going to come from this spur here, from the main, and obviously branch off into whatever. I don't even know what I'm going to do yet. So that's that. On this side, we have the mains going up, two of the mains, up and around on an incline. It's a 2%. I basically follow it all the way around, and then the third main, which is my short line, goes into this side here. And this is the main that has access to the yard, which is this here. The yard is actually everything from here on, really. But these two tracks are designated for the coal facility. They kind of rented track space because I run long coal trains, and I want to make sure that I have enough trackage to store all the cars. So that's why I did that. But it can be used for whatever. It's still attached to the track work within the arrival departure tracks here. So you see right there, there's a connection. So I can use it for either purpose. but I thought that would be kind of fun to do it that way. I have my my yard here. Basically, it's a yard ladder with 6 tracks. It's an arrival departure here. 2 more arrival departure tracks there. This is a caboose track. This is my repair and place track with a little shed and a functioning, it's got a working door that goes up and down remotely, so it's kind of neat. Obviously there's an access road that comes from here and it splits here so that you can either go behind the yard or in front of the yard this way. And then there's another track that splits here that is basically designed to access all the engine parking, which is this here, and the engine facility area, which is here. There's your repair building and maintenance building, and then there are 2 tracks here that go to your fueling and sand tracks. I just got these little cranes, these little fuel cranes, and I haven't like actually glued them down or anything, so they're just kind of standing there. That's why they're all crooked. But basically, I got the 2 sand towers there, and the cranes, and I just put this here. I don't know, I think it looks nice. And then the arrival departure tracks, basically this is like the throat, so to speak, but it also has a lead. The yard lead is this track hugging the cliff here. And I made it very long on purpose so I can back some nice long trains in once I get them all the way. The track goes all the way to the end here, so I can back it up, back up some nice long trains into the ladder and shunt back. But I also made a little spur here for this industry, which is basically like a recycling junkyard scrap metal type thing. And actually this facility I made after that last thing that I showed you before, the switching puzzle. This was made, it's a simple facility. It's just got one little track that goes into the shed. There's some junk piles, and this is where the trucks, sorry about this ladder, it's not supposed to be there, or this pipe. This is where the trucks come in. There's a scale there to weigh in, and then they dump back there. Then there's cranes and stuff that move the material around, and then eventually I'm going to put something here as an extension of that facility. I don't know, but I have some free space here. I might not. I might just leave it, and just make it more like just grass and stuff. So obviously this is the access road to the facility. What else? This is my Y right here. So this is basically where I reverse my trains if I need to, so to kind of go in the other direction. But the 2 mains that you see here that I showed you before basically are these 2 mains that are coming here, except that they overlap, and it's like a pretzel. It goes behind the wall, comes around the layout, and then it goes in this direction through there. So if I want to reverse it, I just go this way, and it reverses my my path that way. But my arrival departure tracks are fairly long. As you can see, this train is I would say probably about 25 to 30 cars, maybe even more. And we get plenty of cars on that track, and I'm not even maxed out yet. So, with the locomotive in front, I can do that. This is my coal train coming through. I finally got to lower the volume a little bit on the locomotives, so I'm excited about that. But I got a nice long coal train coming through here, as usual on my videos. All right, what else? Moving on here, before I leave this area, let me just tell you that this is a little, this is like a brewery. It's a small project, like a private kind of brewery. But it accepts a hopper, covered hopper, and like a box car. But I like the way that came out. This is one of those DPM buildings, but I modified it a little bit. And it's really just this panel. I'm only using this panel and that panel. The back is all just styrene, so I didn't want to waste the actual panel, so I made something else with the extra panels, another structure. So that's that building. Looks nice with the background. It looks like there's a lot of distance when I take photos here or video. It gives it a nice, very deep kind of look, so that's nice. And obviously this is where the spur breaks off into there. So, as you can see, this is a very, very long coal train, and those 3 locomotives are having no problem at all pulling all that weight. Oh, and by the way, I got this beacon thing. It's a Firefly, and it comes all together with the truck. It's like a Microtrans trucks, and everything's wired up. So you just basically change out the whole truck. Sorry about the dogs. This happens in every one of my videos. There's always some barking. I apologize about that, but it's going to happen. All right, moving on. So once we get here to the Y, basically what happens next is that the train kind of hugs this corner here, and then we get into what's considered the town. So there's a typical road that goes over the tracks for access. This bridge comes out, but I would like to fill this a little bit better. It's a little bit sloppy. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do here in the background. I'm probably going to have to either paint something or put another photo backdrop to make it look like it's deeper than it really is. I made a rookie mistake of making it too close, and now I can't put anything. It's hard to put trees and stuff there without making it look awkward. But whatever. So anyways, the double main is a nice straight shoot through town. Residential area on this side, business on that side. So basically, yeah, it's a straight shot. There's obviously an access road here to cut across. My crossing gates are working really well, but this one, I think the wire either snapped off or released. As you can see, they're working quite nicely. Once I get that wire hooked up, it'll be fine. But I'm assuming the train's coming through. Should be the coal train at this point. Coming through from the other way. So while we're waiting for that, I'll just tell you what's going on here. So this is basically Main Street. It's a typical town situation. It's got the angled parking spots. This guy's a little drunk here. That's better. And then, typical small shops, 3-story building at tops, nothing bigger than that. But I have a lot of work to do here still. This is still very bare. And then, it turns into whatever is back there. So this here is the station, obviously. And I still have a little bit more work to do, but I like the way this came out generally, with the exception of those holes there. I'm going to fill those up. It's supposed to be like a, fairly big parking lot where, we hold a lot of passenger cars, but nothing extreme. And I only had a little bit of space here, so that's why I decided to make the parking spaces on an angle, so you can still have an access road that allows you plenty of room to get around the parking lot. So I thought that came out pretty good. This is your typical Atlas, station. I tried to weather it a little bit, but I want to do more work on that because it looks a little toyish still. But whatever, we'll work on that later. Road continues and crosses again over there. But this is supposed to be the quieter side of town, so it doesn't matter that these long trains are going through and blocking up everything. This is a service station. I think I'm just going to make it a repair station with maybe a little gas pump there or something, but nothing major. That's that. And then over here, this big industry here is all connected. All of this here, including that building there and that tank, it's all connected. And it's supposed to be a paint facility where they make the paint, they ship the paint, they make the brushes, they make all the accessories, anything that you would think about when you think about painting. So obviously you're going to receive a lot of different cars here. The spur's here, and it breaks into basically 4 tracks. So there's this is going to be for, I don't know, maybe like this is where they get all the dry material, or maybe this is where they pack up the paint to ship out. And this might be, something that comes in a covered hopper. I don't know, whatever material they use for making paintbrushes. Maybe just plastic pellets or something to make the paintbrushes. And then it splits once. Oops, it splits once again. Let me just not break my layout while I'm explaining this. It splits once again right here into these two tracks here. So maybe this would be where they receive like cardboard or something to make, or maybe cans, to package everything up. And then this is going to be where all the liquid material comes in, so maybe latex or oil or whatever they need to make the paint. This tank is a storage tank. Maybe it's just water, maybe whatever. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's some kind of storage tank for this. So I'm assuming the piping would go under and into that tank. Doesn't really matter. I made these little gates here, which are kind of cool. So these little cranks here control the gates. So when I twist them, they open up. So that adds just another element to operations. There's one there and there's one here. Obviously, I got to finish the fence, but they work nicely. And that's basically it for this whole wing. Then, obviously, the train. What happens here is that it goes from double main to single main because it's got to go through this tunnel. Now, I did that on purpose for two reasons. I wanted it to be a seam block, and I also wanted it to be a little bit of a challenge for a dispatcher, if I ever have one, to have to figure out who has priority into the single track to get through this tunnel. So there'd be some kind of a conversation had with the dispatcher to make that work. And then once it gets past the tunnel, it splits up again. But it splits up into what is the short line once again. And this is still the main from the other side that then splits up again here to become the double main it was on the other side of the layout. So the short line continues that way. It's more like a local, quieter, slower speeds kind of thing. And then this is the high speed, big trains, big unit trains, things like that. At least that's what I imagine. Okay, so on this side of the mountain, now we're on the other side of the peninsula, obviously. On this side of the mountain, this is the lumber facility. And there's a few things going on here. There's, just regular lumber coming in and out. I have a little siding here. There is a wood chip loader that I scratch built. I thought that came out pretty good. I made some fake wood chip background here, piles. This picture looks good. Looks like it kind of continues here, so I got to blend it in somehow and make it look like it's part of the scene. And I got some, obviously this is like a storage track, so that when you're filling the wood chips or changing out any kind of lumber here, you can use that to store. Then on this side, I like that it goes over the creek also. I kind of find it to be aesthetically pleasing. So anyways, on this side, the train, the spur would be here, and the train would shove back to do all the work on this side. But I did make a little runaround here because I probably will have a switcher engine just kind of sitting on this track, or maybe even on this little thing here, where it'll take cars that are delivered and then push them back into another small industry here. I don't know what that's going to be. Originally, this was supposed to be just trackage for, once you're done doing work here, you can store the cars there. But, I don't find that necessary, because the train can just leave cars and then pick up cars without having to necessarily store them here. So I might just make that another industry there. Okay, coming through, double main line on top, the short line on the bottom. I love this scene. This is it's a little dusty, but this is where the whole layout started. This was the first scene ever made, and it's one of my favorites. So, usually your first scene is usually the crappiest because you're learning. But it actually came out really good, and I'm very pleased with it. I just got to add more trees and things. I only have one pine tree. It's all lonely there, so I'll add more. And then obviously you have a double track bridge, and these are nice arc bridges here. But they look nice with the reflection of the water. That's why I did that. And then once you get past the bridges, this is supposed to be like an abandoned scene in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. I want to have a lot of trees up here, some here, not a lot. And then this is like a, you know, an abandoned shed house type thing. So I have like weeds growing, and there's a ladder, and there's like a, you know, like just abandoned looking, holes everywhere, and an abandoned car back here that's all smashed up. And then also have an abandoned spur, which might have been something related to this. You know, this house might have been where people stayed when they were working this facility. But at some point it was attached to the main here. And, you know, they closed it off. They just made that nice and clean for the main, and then they just chopped off the track there. But this is supposed to be like a little loading platform here. And they made it look very beat up, you know, with a lot of overgrown weeds and a piece of rail there. You know, the stop sign with the ties stopping the car. The car was left there abandoned. It was actually supposed to be straight, like that. I have an abandoned truck there. I tried to make a flat tire with a bent axle. I don't know if you can see that from there, but try to make it look all banged up, rusty and dirty, and you know, that little shed there for tools or whatever. And then it's fenced off, you know, the rusty fence that I made out of screen. Got a sign that says private property or something like that, no trespassing. And then this traffic thing to, you know, to veer people off that are coming from over here somewhere. So that's that. So obviously the short line ducks under the two mains on the second. This is the second bridge now. One here, one there. Ducks under, and it goes into the second mountain, which is on this side of the layout. And here I have a lot more work to do, even though I already have the ground cover. But I have a lot of trees to plant there, and obviously I have to finish this tunnel, which that portal I made out of wood, just a piece of plywood, and then I put plaster all over it, and then I carved my own stone and weathered it. So I thought that looked pretty good. Just a thin layer of plaster on top, and I just took a hobby knife and made everything else, made the blocks there. So on this side, this is the harbor scene. Needs a lot of work. The screwdriver is obviously not going to be part of the scene, but it's coming along nicely. This is supposed to be, well, originally it was just supposed to be a ferry system, which would take the train, pretty much an entire train, up to like 30 cars, from this level up to the second level. There's a ferry now. And it goes through the benchwork. If you're interested in watching videos on how that was made and how it works, it basically, it goes through the benchwork, and it takes the whole ship and it brings it down. And it brings it down through an elevator system, which is hiding. It's like camouflaged in this area. I'll show you what I mean. If I click this button here, that's your elevator right there. And it basically, it's a linear actuator that brings the platform up. So yeah, that would go all the way up and pick up the ship, and then there's like pegs under there supporting the ship that push out, and then the whole ship comes down. It actually works really smoothly. And the nice thing is that once it's done, it kind of disappears again. And there's an auto stop switch on there, which is nice because I don't have to think about it. So that's that. Now, the ferry area is this here, but, you know, I would imagine other ships can park here, and then this is like a transfer building. There's a track here for any, I have a crane that would basically just go the length of this, and if they have to, like, load or unload things from the ship, they can be done there. This is the apron. The apron goes up and down also automatically. Let me just show you that real quick. As you can see, it's moving slowly, but it's moving. And the reason for that is that, let's bring it back up. The reason for that is that the ship, the ferry, it's a double decker. So in order to get, you know, the cars on the lower deck, the bridge would have to come down. Now, obviously, the upper level is going to be exactly the same as the lower level, with a few exceptions. But the apron, this is basically the raw version, like the simple version of this, which is dressed up with, you know, the side panels and the rust and, you know, the building. So, you know, that's how I started. That's how the whole thing started. And that's how you get up to the second level. And once you get up here, then it basically just connects to the upper level track here. And speaking of the upper level, it's a very basic loop. It's kind of like a dog bone, but bent in the middle. I'll show you here on the map here on the JMRI. So this is the upper level. What we're looking at right now, as you can see, it says ferry here. That's where we were. Now, right now, you saw the train go through the wall. This loop right here is actually in my bathroom. And more videos about that on my channel. So just check that out. I designed basically a return loop that can be dismantled very quickly, and you would never think it was there in the first place. But it basically goes through the vanity of the bathroom. But trust me, you would never even think that it was there to begin with. So that's that. That's how it gets into the return loop. And it's pretty big, so as you can see, the train was there quite a while ago, and it's still not out yet. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for it so I can take you around the top part of the layout. But I'll talk about this area first. So this is going to be basically the same thing as this. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to tell you that this is like an oil tanker kind of thing, a small oil tanker. And there would be tank cars that would sit here, and you know, there's all kinds of transfer stuff for the oil. But that's what that's all about. But now that we have our train coming here, this is going to be just a few tracks for storage, but nothing major, because I don't have. It's too hard to access things up there, so I don't want to overcomplicate things. But as the train comes around, it basically goes on one side of the peninsula and then on the other side. But this obviously needs a lot of scenery still, but it's just basic scenery, nothing crazy. And then as it comes around, this is one of my favorite sections on the upper level. It's supposed to be like the middle of nowhere, and I like to have like the sense of like the train going through like a lot of trees, and like almost like it creates like a tunnel like that for the locomotive and for the train. So I just love how this came out, and how the train just kind of like snakes its way through this S curve and through the trees. Very happy with this scene. And then it hits this bridge here, which is a very simple old bridge, and there's a dry, muddy creek here, and you can see there's cracks and stuff. But you know, it just looks so nice as the train goes through all that. And then you know, continues here, but then there's like a small facility kind of hidden over here. Nothing major, just you know, for like two cars. That's basically it. But I tried to make it very dense with a lot of trees and stuff. And then there's like an access road back here for the truck. Kind of, you know, disappears back there, which is kind of cool. And then as the train comes around the peninsula, it opens up into what is like a cement gravel plant. There's a cement. This is gravel. And there's more elevators. This fell over, but it's supposed to be like that. You know, and there's some tracks there for that. But then this also is, and part in the background, I still haven't stuck it on, so it's like folded over. But this is also supposed to be one of those very, very long, straight shot kind of, you know, scene with a very flat kind of scenery, which I like. But it also acts as the grain facility track. So these two tracks up here next to it are the ones used for the grain elevators, which are here. They made the extra elevators out of just PVC pipe, the gray kind. And that's basically it. I mean, once the train makes its way around, then you're back to where we started. So the upper level was supposed to be simple on purpose. You know, I intentionally did that just to not have a headache of, like, you know, climbing up on things and doing, you know, a lot of work up there. So I want to keep it simple. And what's nice is I can let these trains just run, and I don't have to worry about anything. I mean, this coal train has gone around a bunch of times already, and nothing to worry about. And obviously, you know, when I'm by myself, this is cool because then I can do work with a separate train, kind of like dodging all these other trains that are going through, and I can still have like a sort of like a session by myself. But if I invite people over, there's plenty of industries to switch out. And speaking of industries, this is the last project that I'm working on here. This is supposed to be like, you know, like a tank, some kind of tank facility. It's either going to be ethanol or oil or, you know, something. But I wanted to make it very industrial looking with a lot of tanks and a lot of smoke and a lot of pipes and whatever. So this is just the beginning of it. But I got the plaster down. I got the receiving tracks here, the loading tracks and unloading tracks. And you know, I basically designed it around my unit tank train. So I have like 14 cars and I can get, you know, 7 and 7 very nicely in there with the length. And then I'm scratch building some buildings to make it look, you know, more industrial, and just to also, there's a 2x4 behind that building, so I'm just trying to hide some things. So I thought that came out pretty good there. It's coming along, and that's basically my whole layout. I mean, the only thing I didn't show you was the train going through the closet over here, and also, you know, well, let me just show you that first. So this is where the access tracks are for that, and it's, you know, simple, just 3 tracks going right through, and then they spit out here. And this is a lift-out bridge. This whole thing comes out. The scenery slides out, and I can put it in the closet in 2 seconds. It's really easy to do. But then it goes into this, this here, which is actually my shower. This box here is my shower. Shower's broken. Watch more of my videos on why I did that. It's not working, so it's basically another closet. So it goes through there, and then it goes out the back here, and we're back to the harbor scene. And that's what leads out to the bottom of the pretzel. It goes under and then around to the other side of the peninsula. So with that, I'm going to wrap this video up. I hope I got to show you, you know, most things. I've done a lot of work in the last 2 years or so, and you know, I'm pretty happy with the results so far. A lot of electrical work, and there's a lot of wires everywhere, but I tried to keep it very neat, so that I can find my way around, that I could, you know, access things when they go wrong. But there's a lot more to show you in more specific videos, so I'll try to get those out as soon as I can. But for now, I'm just trying to run some trains, because, you know, you get caught up on just building and building and building and scenery and this and that, and, you know, your trains are just sitting there doing nothing. So this is something that's necessary, at least for me, once in a while, to just run trains and not think about any of that. And it also kind of recharges you to want to do more scenery and more sections. So if you like this video, and if you want to see more of them on my layout and on other things that I've been doing with electronic stuff and just more tutorials type things, check out my channel. It's Rhythm Railroad on YouTube. All right, I'll see you next time.